Hey, I'm Paul Black with Black CPA Review. Today we're looking at price elasticity of demand. This is something that's tested on the Balck exam. Now, price elasticity of demand is the measure of how sensitive demand is to a change in price. So we're looking at demand for a particular product and how sensitive it is to a change in the price of that product. Now, like most concepts with Balck, you're going to need to memorize a formula before you can really dive into it. So there are two formulas for calculating the price elasticity of demand. The first one is the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price. Now, I think you should know this one, but I don't think it's the most important formula for price elasticity of demand. The one we're really going to look at, and the one I think you need to practice the most, is what's called the ARC formula. Now, the ARC formula, and we're looking at the price elasticity of demand, the ARC formula is going to be your change. Let's do it with deltas. We're going to do change in quantity demanded. So change in quantity demanded over average quantity. So that's the first part. You're going to divide that by your change in price over average price. Okay, so this is the ARC formula for your price elasticity of demand. So it's your change in quantity over average quantity divided by change in price over average price. This is the most common formula you're going to need to know on the CPA exam for price elasticity of demand. There are 5 steps to completing it. We'll go through each one using a problem. Okay, so the problem I'll read to you, you might want to write this down. I'll put a little bit of it on the board. It says basically XYZ company sells product X for $10. The usual demand is 100 units per day. In order to increase sales, XYZ lowers the price of the product to $8. The sales increase to 500 sales per day. All right, so what do we have here? We know XYZ sells product X at a price of $10 with a demand of $100. 100 units, I'm sorry. They lower it to $8, the price to $8, and demand goes up by 400 to 500 units per day. All right, so let's look at our formula. Step 1 is to calculate the change in quantity demanded. Okay, so we're figuring out part 1 here, change in quantity demanded. All right, so step 1, figure out the change in quantity demanded. So initially, what? We had 100 units. Now we have 500 units. So the quantity demanded now is 500. It was 100. So your change is 400 units. All right. Step 2 is to calculate the change in price. So we're going to look at the change in price. All right. So initially we had $10 and now it's $8. So we have $10. So we have a change of $2. Now we're looking at absolute value. So no matter if the price went up or went down, it was still $2. So the price could have gone up to $12. They could have raised the price to $12. We still would have had the same change in price. It's still a change of $2. All right. The third step is to calculate the average quantity. All right. So how are we going to do that? You're going to take the 500, add the 100, and divide by 2. So your average quantity is 300 units. Step 4, so this was 3, this is 4. So step 4 is to calculate the average price. All right, so we have $10 and we've got the $8. You add them together, divide by 2. You're going to have an average price of $9. All right. Step 5 is to plug it in and go. So step 5 is to plug. All right. So what are you going to do? You're going to take the 400, put it over step 3, which is 300, divide by step 2 over step 9. Okay, so what's that give us? We've got elasticity of demand equals 1.33 divided by 0.22, or elasticity of demand equals 6. So this is your answer. This is your elasticity of demand, your price elasticity of demand. So there's 5 steps essentially. You're going to go through each part of the formula and then add it all together, plug it in, you get your answer here. So product X has a price elasticity of demand of 6. All right. So, all right, we know that this is the price elasticity of demand for the product, but what does it mean? So we're going to take a look at a few things to help you figure out what the price elasticity coefficient actually means. So you need to know how to calculate it, and you've got to know what it means, okay, how to interpret it. So if price elasticity is greater than 1, it's considered elastic, right? So that means that the product is sensitive to the price change. So if the price increases, it means your total revenue is going to decrease. So if your price increases, total revenue is going to decrease. All right? It's kind of counterintuitive. Hey, we've got a product, let's lower the price, and our revenue is going to go up. It's kind of counterintuitive, but as you can see here, they lowered the price $2, but demand went up by 400 units. So likewise, if you were to raise the price, total revenue will decrease. So that's an elastic price elasticity. And our product is elastic. It's greater than 1. Now we've got our price elasticity here. If your elasticity is less than 1, it's inelastic. So what does this mean? This means if you raise the price, revenue will increase. If you lower the price, revenue will decrease. All right. It basically says that the product is not sensitive to change. All right. If the price elasticity of demand is less than 1, it's not sensitive to a change in price, meaning if you raise the if you raise the price, you're not necessarily going to get fewer products sold, so you're going to actually make more. Okay? All right, now, if the elasticity is equal, to 1, then you have what's known as a unitary product. You have a unitary product, all right? This means that the product is neither sensitive nor insensitive to price change. So if there is a price change, total revenue will stay exactly the same. So XYZ lowered the price by $2. They're going to have the exact same revenue as when it was $10. All right? And then by using the elasticity coefficient of a product, it's possible to predict how a change in price will affect demand. Okay? So we know what the coefficient is for product X. So from here on out, we can determine what a change in price is going to do to demand. Okay? So if the price were to be decreased by 5% for product X, then demand will increase by 30%, right? So we know that the product's coefficient for elasticity of demand is 6. And we're saying, what if we lower the price by 5%? So we're going to lower price by 5%. What is that going to do to our demand? Well, the way you figure it out is you take your coefficient here, your 6, and multiply it by 5%. So we know demand is going to increase by 30%. All right? So price elasticity is basically, it's a tough concept initially. Once you get this ARC formula down, once you get this guy down, it's not too bad. All right? So my recommendation, memorize this formula, go through a problem or two, and you should have it. And that's it. 5 steps, ARC formula, know what our 3 different coefficients could mean. If the elasticity of demand is greater than 1, it's elastic. If it's less than 1, it's inelastic. If it's equal to 1, it's a unitary product. All right. And that will wrap up price elasticity of demand. Again, I'm Paul Balck with Balck CPA Review.